Good evening and welcome to ABC-7 Extra. I'm JC Navarrete in for Saul Saenz. We come to you on the heels of the Humane Society Telethon, and as always, thank you for helping us raise funds to save countless furry lives here in the borderland. This half hour, we'll be discussing animal welfare here in El Paso. I am joined by Ramon Herrera, the Interim Director of Animal Services, and Deb Benedict, the CEO of the Humane Society. Thank you so much here for joining me tonight.
Thank you, JC.
It's a pleasure to have you both here. Great work that we're doing here in this community. This weekend, we got to see the love and support for animals in our community through the Humane Society Telethon, but it has not always been like that here. Now, you're seeing the Humane Society shelter, and while so many pets did find their forever homes this weekend, thanks in part to the telethon, many more are still waiting for their chance to get adopted. We do want to get started with the Humane Society Telethon. Joining us now is Deb Benedict. Deb, thank you so much for being here. You are the CEO of the largest no-kill shelter here in the city and county. Deb, you recently took over as CEO. Let's talk about, animal welfare here in the borderland. Obviously, the telethon is one thing, but the need does not end there.
Correct, JC. So, the mandate of the Humane Society is to serve animals throughout our community. And we do that in multiple ways. One is providing shelter to homeless animals, dogs and cats. Second way is to provide foster care to underage dogs and kittens, and as well as medically fragile animals. And a third really unique service that we have is to provide spay-neuter services to community cats, feral cats, cats that don't have homes. And that particular program is one that is providing a critical service right now, because otherwise we are all faced with the need to say, what do we do with these cats that are running all over the place?
Yeah, and Deb, the dogs, the cats are one thing, and the Humane Society is one thing, but you cannot talk about animal welfare and just talk about the Humane Society. We also have to talk about animal services, and for that, I do want to bring in my next guest, Ramon Herrera, here with Animal Services. Ramon, thank you so much. Let's just get started a little bit with the background of Animal Services. So many times people confuse both of you guys, but you guys are two separate entities.
Yeah, we're two separate entities, but we're both working towards the same goal, and that's to serve the pets of El Paso. And, Animal Services 10 years ago had a reputation that wasn't so stellar. We were essentially called, what we hate to hear now is when people refer us to the pound, just a place where you take and you dump pets, and the unfortunate likely happens. Now, the good thing is that a lot of people in El Paso spoke up and asked for change from the city shelter, which we are, El Paso Animal Services, and the city committed to a reform effort to do better by our pets, because we had great examples like the Humane Society that were doing this work already. So the plan was put together in 2016, and things quickly took off. New programs were added, a foster program, changing the way we do things, even when it comes to our animal protection officers, often referred to, and we don't like the word, as dog catchers, because really they're much more than that. They're a resource out there in the community. So since 2016 to fast forward to now, the city of El Paso, in coordination with all of its partners like the Humane Society, have saved nearly 100,000 pets. We went from a facility that was euthanizing about 4 out of 5 pets that entered the facility to now we're saving that many. So definitely a big accomplishment, not just from our organizations. Really, we have to give the credit to the community, but the need is still there. And I think that's a good conversation to have, like the one we're having tonight, because the needs are going to be there for years to come, which is why we need the community support and help.
Absolutely, and I do want to bring both guests in for this next, situation that we saw earlier this year. Sometimes folks just can't care for a pet anymore. We've seen just how bad things can get when someone can no longer take care of a dog or a cat, and it may lead to abandonment, like we saw in a viral video that went very popular this year. You're seeing again on your screen. We've seen it all at home. It did blow up on social media. A young man getting out of the silver SUV, taking the collar off the dog before getting back in that car and driving away. Since then, we've learned that 2 people have been arrested here. You're seeing one of them right now, Luis Antonio Campos, 68 years old, charged with animal cruelty. The other one, a 17-year-old who's also been charged with animal cruelty. I just want to talk to you guys about that, because that's the last thing that either of you guys want to see, is just pet abandonment. Let's start with the Humane Society. What can somebody do if they can no longer take care of a pet?
Well, Ramon and I are going to address this in slightly different ways, because Ramon is taking in animals from a broad spectrum of people. We don't have the capacity of just doing intake. The people that come to the Humane Society to surrender their animals tend to be families or individuals who can no longer care for them. For instance, we've had a number of servicemen come to the society and surrender their dogs before they were deployed. We've had a number of senior citizens who, due to illness or moving into assisted living facilities, surrender their animals here. And, you know, there's a different mix of people who walk through the door and say, we can't take care of them. And they're doing the right thing because they're not just going to move away and leave them in their home. We also, and so those are the people who come to the society and actually surrender. But we also work closely, for instance, with Fort Bliss and many of their housing coordinators, who oftentimes run into the situation of having families leave their pets closed up in homes. And so the other thing that the Humane Society does a tremendous amount of work with is making sure people get connected with the right resources, such as Ramon and such as Animal Services, and walking the people who call in through the ropes of what they need to do to make sure that animal goes from being abandoned in a home or an apartment building to being placed at Animal Services.
And let's bring in Ramon for that part, the animal services part. How do you guys jump in if somebody does have to surrender an animal? That way we never see another animal left on the side of the road again.
And I think Deb was spot on with it. It's letting the public know what resources are there. Because years ago, it was just, you know, you drop off and you go. But as we learned over the years, people are unable to have their pets for a specific reason. So we see, you know, is it an issue with just purchasing food? Is it a training issue? We want to first talk with folks and understand what's the reason for that. We're expecting a big boom in intake following, you know, the eviction moratorium that's going to happen, and that's being debated at the national level, because we understand folks' living situations are going to change. So, you know, if a person ever can't take care of their pet, we suggest that they reach out to us sooner than later, because things have changed. You know, there's programs where we can get you connected with potential new adopters. We have a new program called Home to Home, which essentially is a rehoming service that's hosted by us on our website, because we often hear families say that, you know, I don't want to surrender my pet. I'm afraid of them entering the shelter. I want to know who they're going to go to. And that's something that has changed, because back in the day, there wasn't that service. There wasn't that resource. If they need help with food, there's that service as well. But if all else fails and you can't hang on to a pet, then that's where we're going to go ahead and make sure that we make space here at the shelter, because it's very important to know that the shelter is a place that is always going to be full. But in those circumstances, if you could connect with us sooner, we could go ahead and make sure that we coordinate with the family, make sure that we have that space, and make sure that we provide the best service to the pet. Because oftentimes we've seen that sometimes that pet won't need to be surrendered and essentially be in the shelter. Oftentimes we could get them on a rescue transport flight, like we've been doing for several years, or get them into a home. So meaning that they literally go from their old home into a new home. So the first thing to do is just reach out for help. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. Now, we do, of course, want to remind everybody, it's not only a horrible act that you're doing, it is illegal, and sheriff officials, again, say that this is a crime. So if you suspect that animal neglect is going on, they ask you to call 915-832-4639. 4408. The good news is that that pet did end up finding a forever home. So there was a positive, good ending there to that very sad story. Again, we're talking about animal welfare here tonight on ABC-7 Extra. When we do come back, another consequence of the pandemic, we're seeing more people surrendering pets that they adopted during lockdown orders. What the Humane Society and Animal Services are doing about this troubling trend. We're watching ABC-7 Extra, where news comes first.
She said she wasn't hungry. She only wanted a bite. But this isn't just a patty melt. This is a Whataburger patty melt. Good thing she's your other all-time favorite. Good thing there's the patty melt at Whataburger.
You have cancer. Sure wasn't expecting that. Not with these two. But my team at Texas Oncology has been right there for me. They said my family is a huge part of my treatment plan. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Right here is where I want to be. I'll see you in the morning.
This time, our delicious, crispy, hand-battered chicken comes in piece. 8-piece.
Get nuggets delivered exclusively on the Popeyes app.
Love that chicken from Popeyes. Forecast, plenty of sunshine through today with seasonal.
Rush hour will never feel the same. Experience thrilling performance from our entire line of vehicles at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Lease the 2021 IS 300 for $379 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
At LongJohnSilvers.com, you can order online and sail past the line. Oh, and see prize. Get $5 off with promo code 8FAMILY5 when you order online at LongJohnSilvers.com. Long John Silvers.
When the heavens opened and El Paso streets filled with water, ABC-7 was there to warn you and keep you informed. First to alert, always tracking. The ABC-7 Storm Track Weather Team, keeping your family safe.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra. We are talking about animal welfare here in El Paso on this Sunday edition of ABC-7 Extra. Joining us now is Deb Benedict, the CEO of the Humane Society of El Paso, and Ramon Herrera, the Director of Animal Services. Now, we have been seeing a lot of things coming through the pandemic. Some folks did adopt pets. They had them at home, and now they're returning to work, sometimes surrendering them. That's the last thing we want to see. But we're also seeing a lot of stray animals out there. For that, we bring in Ramon with Animal Services. What is the trend right now with stray pets in El Paso?
Yeah, something that I know has been kind of a storyline nationally is pets being returned that were adopted during the pandemic. Right now, we're not really seeing a lot of adoption returns, but what we are seeing, as you mentioned, is just an increase in strays. If you look at pandemic kind of trends that is affecting the shelter right now is not only the strays coming in, but the fact that the community's willingness to adopt. Right now, our adoption numbers are down compared to pre-pandemic year, which is in 2019. So that's what we've seen here at Animal Services is that trend of not having the same amount of the public coming to adopt that we did in 2019.
Now, to the Humane Society, you know, as we've been saying, you guys don't really take in surrenders like you would with the Animal Services, but the Humane Society does come up with these agreements when you are adopting a pet out. What can you expect when you do come up with an agreement with a pet parent when they are adopting from you?
So it actually precedes the adoption agreement. One of the things that the Humane Society works very hard at is to make sure that when someone comes to the society and says, I'm really interested in adopting a dog or a cat, we have adoption counselors who sit and really vet that person or that family to understand what they're looking for, what kind of life they have. Are they at home? Are they not at home? Are they active? Are they inactive? So that when they start looking at the animals that we have here, the dogs or the cats, but let's talk dogs. A family doesn't pick a dog that really needs to have a lot of FaceTime with their human if that human's going to be at work all the time. It makes for a really unhappy match. And so our adoption counselors talk to the family on the phone initially. And then when the family comes to visit us, they literally set up a meet and greet with the family between our dog and the family, or our dog and the family and their animals. It's a really lovely process. And sometimes what happens is everybody meets and they go, "God, we're all fabulous together." And sometimes people go, "Well, that was really good, but this is not a good match."
It's just like dating.
Just like dating, it's a doggy human dating service. And what that does is it allows people to get some clarity about, is this really a good decision for them? Versus I'm window shopping and it sounds like a great thing to do on a weekend. When people take the time to work with us, we decrease the number of people calling and saying, "I don't think this is a good match."
Ramon, I would love to ask Animal Services here because they also do adoptions. A lot of people think that Animal Services just takes in these pets. You guys also do adoptions here. What are some of the agreements that you guys look for a pet parent?
Definitely, exactly what Deb said is that it's about the person and the animal making a match. Everyone's ultimate goal is to make a great connection, a great match. And really, we got to have those conversations with pet owners. You know, I've handled adoptions personally where a family will come in and say, "I want a husky." And it would be easy. I got tons of huskies that I could pair them with and send out the door. But I really want to know what their lifestyle is, what they expect from their pet. And I have one story where a family came in wanting a husky, and I ended up matching them with a 12-pound terrier mix because they said they prefer to watch Netflix as a family and kind of hang out at home and not really out and about and getting that enrichment and that exercise that husky would require. So that's the most important part, is making sure that the match is there. Yes. And making sure that they understand that it is a commitment. It is going to be something that is a lifelong commitment. Some of these breeds can live up to 8, 10. I have a 16-year-old Chihuahua. That's definitely a lifelong commitment that you have to make. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where you can't care for the pet, bring them back. Yeah. Don't even think about leaving them abandoned. That's something, you know, I know that was the previous topic we discussed, but it's something that we see frequently here in the community, and not just in that one viral video.
Thank you, Ramon. Now, still ahead, both these shelters have been faced with challenges in the past in their goal of becoming no-kill. Next, we give you a look at how these shelters have weathered the storm from COVID-19, plus how you can help them. We look at the programs that are available for the community to adopt and even foster. We'll be right back. You're watching ABC-7 Extra, where news comes first.
Life happens. Plan to get great ER care. Check in online and let us know you're on your way.
Jason, did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and a whole lot more?
Cool.
So what are you waiting for? Michaela Maroney to get your Frisbee off the roof?
I'll get it.
Whoa.
Here you go.
Thank you, Michaela.
Dude, get it. I'm not getting it. You get it. You threw it. It's your Frisbee.
Geico. Switch today and see all the ways you could save.
The Casa games are here, and at Casa Buick GMC, we're passing the savings on to you.
We're leading the way with personal service that puts you first every time.
Our commitment to you is always burning with incredible offers on every new Buick and GMC.
Get $3,000 off MSRP on a new GMC Sierra.
And we want your car. Come see us for maximum value on your trade-in.
Get a first place price on your next ride at Casa Buick GMC, home of the nice guy. Yeah!
When summer temperatures spike, so does your energy use, which leads to a higher bill and increased strain on our grid. So let's work together to be smarter about how you use energy and control your costs. Beat daytime heat by closing drapes and blinds, circulate air with fans, and unplug unnecessary appliances. You can also shift your energy use to evenings when demand is lower, which means less strain on the grid, helping keep the lights on. By working together to be energy-wise, we can protect the grid and help you lower your bill. Learn more at epelectric.com.
Life happens. Plan to get great ER care. Get specialized pediatric emergency care at Providence Children's Hospital.
Welcome back. We once again are talking about animal welfare here on ABC-7 Extra. Joining us now is Deb Benedict with the Humane Society of El Paso and Ramon Herrera with Animal Services. Thank you again for joining me here for the third and final segment of ABC-7 Extra. And I'd like to take this time to highlight the cooperation both organizations do to help El Paso be a no-kill city. Adoptions are continuing every single day in the borderland between the Humane Society and Animal Services, but we also know that there's a way you can help out at home if you aren't ready to commit 12 years of your life to a pet. You can foster. So let's get started here with Animal Services and some of the foster programs that you have available. How big are the fosters for you guys? How many pets do you guys have out right now on fosters?
Yeah, fostering has been a game changer for Animal Services. Currently, about 600 pets in foster, from large dogs all the way to neonate kittens. We have a range of support from our foster families, and what that means is that that pet that they're taking care of has an opportunity to eventually have a loving home. And by them stepping up, it allows us to pay attention more to the pets that are here that may have special needs, whether it's a medical need or whether they just need more time to decompress. It really expands our capabilities. And I always say it's like having a shelter outside of the shelter. So that's a big way that the community has been helping us, is with that foster program.
That's wonderful. Deb, same question for you. You were telling me that the man hours that these foster families put in really have helped you guys stay on budget.
Absolutely. Actually, they expand our ability to serve our animals. As I said in the beginning, our foster program is a little bit different from ones because we focus on underage puppies and kittens. These are animals who are too young, actually, to leave their mom in many cases, and they're certainly too young to be adopted, or medically fragile animals. And so it's a special foster family who's willing to take on, in some cases, a litter of 6 to 10 puppies or kittens at the same time, and learn how to bottle feed and clean up after them. It's kind of pretend you have babies and how much that work that involves. But the amazing thing is that if our foster families were not caring for these animals, most of them would not have a survival rate. And so their care and attention gets them to the point that when they're of age and healthy, then we bring them back into the shelter and put them up for adoption, and we'll find them a home where they'll be able to live and be taken care of for the rest of their lives. Our foster families are really heroes for us. During the pandemic, most of them took on litters expecting to care for them for 4 weeks. And during the initial 3-month shutdown, their babies went from preemies to adolescents. And so it was a real different fostering experience for them during that time.
Wonderful.
But all told, they put in about 51,000 hours of care and attention.
And that's the thing about the Humane Society and Animal Services, that you can foster at any time and you can adopt at any time. Of course, they do have the screening information, but if you do want to adopt, we do have that information on your screen. Here's how you can adopt here from the Humane Society. You can call 915-532-6971. Adoptions are by appointment only. And Animal Services, for information on adoptions or foster care, please call 915-212-7297. Adoption hours are from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. I want to thank you for joining us at home, and thank you for helping El Paso become no-kill by being responsible pet parents. And most of all, thank you to my guests from the Humane Society and Animal Services for being here tonight and educating all of us on how we can become a no-kill city here in El Paso. I'm JC Barrete, and this has been ABC-7 Extra. Thank you for joining us. Have a great week.